Hello and welcome to another video. As usual, my name is Jeffrey and you're welcome to the Inquisitive Universe. So it's a mad market out there. Believe me, it is. Prices are here, up, down. It's looking more like a forex chart these days. Like, it's also mad. And now with prices going up and then, choosing to go higher, even further, a lot of people are confused about phones. Seriously, because you see people, somebody came and said, Jeff, I want to upgrade, and I'm like, where are you upgrading from and where are you upgrading to? It's like, oh, I like the 13C, I like the look of the 13C, it falls within my price gap, my price, budget, and I feel like I should get that one instead. And I'm like, okay, fine, it's okay. Where are you upgrading from? And it's like, I'm upgrading for Redmi Note 10. Like, bro, you're downgrading though. And that's not the only one. I've seen people who are upgrading, who wanted to upgrade from Redmi Note 9 Pro. Redmi Note 9 Pro. They want to upgrade to Redmi Note 13 4G. And some of them were talking about name, other people were talking about price, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, no. These are wrong ways, very wrong ways to go about grading phones that you want to upgrade to. This is not an upgrade at all, not even in the slightest. Like, guys, what are you doing? And then it occurred to me that many people do not understand smartphone categories, smartphone levels, any language you want to put. But the fact is that smartphones are arranged in steps, from the best to the worst, or from the worst to the best, or from the best to the weakest. Okay, let's not use worst, let's use weakest now, because they're really, in truth, there aren't really any bad smartphones, so to speak. Smartphones have different levels, and what you pay for is what you get. So that's why, and this is going to be the first part in a 3-part series. I want to talk about the three main smartphones are divided into 3 main categories. I've said it here on the channel before if you've been following, but I feel once again, with the whole madness in the market right now, it is important to come back and then drop this information back amongst, my viewers, people who come in here to check me out and then, keep a date with the channel. I think it's important to inform you. And if you already know that, it's a reminder that you should go out and tell people, your close friends, your family members, that, hey, this is what's up, you get. So yeah, I'm going to start this one with the entry level. Now, again, as a refresher, smartphones have 3 categories, 3 major categories. You've got the entry level, low end, you've got the mid range, and you've got the high end. So smartphones usually fall into one of these 3 categories: low end, mid range, high end. So I'm going to start today with the mid range. Next week I'm going to start with the low end. Next week we're going to do mid range, and then finally we'll round up with the high end. So let's start with entry level. The entry level or the low end. The low end segment, this is the lowest level of the smartphone market, and it is also known as the entry level. Although some people have decided to split the low end into 2, where basically some reviewers consider the low end to be just entry level, but a lot of them differ and say the low end is divided into 2 levels. You've got the entry level at the very bottom, and you've got the budget sitting just on top of the entry level. And I think I subscribe to this school of thought, because for me it actually does make sense. I wouldn't really call budget phones lower mid-rangers. I don't think it would make sense that way. I think budget phones should be part of the low end, because they are actually low end phones, and then they should be meshed together with the entry level phones. So let's get started. What is an entry level phone? How do you define entry level phones? Very simple. I define it thus: an entry level phone is a phone that offers basic specifications and basic functionalities for what is expected from a smartphone. When we say basic, we mean that the absolute necessary stuff, basic necessities, that's the stuff that you need to do with a phone. That's what it offers and doesn't really do much beyond that. Those phones are called entry level phones, right? So when you hear the term entry level, think of level of entry, right? Let's say you want to walk into a building, for example, a building with several floors. where are you going to, and you want to physically walk in, you're not going to fly in from the top. No, you're going to have to walk in to the bottom floor before you catch an elevator, for example, or an escalator or whatever. But you're going to have to walk into the bottom floor. The entry level is designed to welcome people into the smartphone, into the, I won't really say iPhones are out of this, they're all high end, so into the Android smartphone market, and say, okay, hey, you're welcome, right? You're welcome. This is one, it will do the basic, the stuff you need. It's going to make calls, it's going to do light, emphasis on light social media. You get Facebook Lite, you get WhatsApp, you get TikTok Lite. You don't, beyond that, what else again? Is there any other social media there? Telegram maybe, not really, but maybe for some, not all. Yeah, because you won't get Instagram on that. You certainly won't get Snapchat on that either. So you mostly get Facebook Lite, TikTok Lite, and WhatsApp. So it offers you basic specification, the basic specs and basic functionalities of what a smartphone is supposed to give you. That is mostly where it stops. Some can play light games, others cannot at all, depending on the specifications on board. And then that will then take us to, how do you spot an entry-level phone? It's very simple. More often than not, you check the specs and then you see the SoC. Most of the time, the SoC is usually a very huge indicator. It is the biggest indicator, right? Most people say, oh, battery, oh, this, oh, Batteries are just batteries. They're just a power source. You can have 5,000 mAh, 6,000 mAh, 7,000 mAh battery across different levels. It doesn't really matter. Batteries are just what they are, a power source. But the most important part of any smartphone, by my book, I know people would argue this, but by my book, is the SoC on board. And I've done lots of videos about SoCs. I would please ask you to check them out on the channel so I don't extend the length of this video. The SoC on board mostly determines the level of the smartphone, because it's what determines the level of performance and functionality that the smartphone can and will give you. What you pay for is what you get. Now, I have a list of top 100 smartphone SoCs, and if you go check the list, you'll see where I have arranged them into different levels. And if you go to the bottom, near the bottom, as you scroll further down, you're going to see it stated there, entry level, that all of these SoCs that you see here all the way down are entry level. So if you are buying a phone that is using one of these processors, one of these SoCs, you're getting an entry level phone. Now, unfortunately, it so happens that the Naira has been devalued by close to 200% in the last, dare I say, I don't even think it's up to a year, right? And so prices have skyrocketed, that you see that where phones that used to cost, let's say roughly, once upon a time, roughly 100k to 150k, you'd get a decent lower mid-ranger for that amount. These days, you would find a variety of entry-level to budget phones occupying this space, right? Now, prices have gone up, salaries haven't caught up, or earnings haven't caught up to meet it. So it's so unfortunate that you see people be like, oh my god, there is a latest phone out there, and like, which phone are you talking about? And the person was like, the Redmi 8 III, it's almost 100k. God, it must be a good phone, right? No, it's not. It's an entry-level phone. It's basically the same thing as the Redmi 8 II Plus. It's the same phone. And like, why is it so expensive? And I'm like, that's the fault of your currency and the authorities that are in charge of your country, basically. It's not, sometimes, yes, I do, honestly, those people who know me will know that I blame smartphone companies, but it is what it is. It is what it is. So when you check the specs and you see something like Helio G36, for example, Helio G37, for example, Exynos 850, for example, Unisoc SC9863A, for example, Helio G25, for example, you are buying a low Unisoc T603. You are buying a low-end phone. And if not just a low-end phone, the very bottom, the entry level, you are buying from the entry level. That's what you are buying. I feel I need to express this, I need to impress this upon you so that you would know that, please, when you check and you see this stuff, other additional stuff you may usually find would be maybe a 13 megapixel camera more often than not. A 13 megapixel camera more often than not is what you get at the entry level, more often than not. And then, you know, they give you a big battery to compensate you and say, all right, you know, we're giving you low-end specs. Here's a huge battery to compensate you so you'd enjoy, you know, some battery life, right? Some of them may put in 4 gigs of RAM for you, others may stick to 2 gigs of RAM. RAM is cheap now, especially LPDDR4X RAM is cheap now, so they can afford to put in 4 gigs of RAM or 6 gigs of RAM at entry level. But really doesn't matter if you're using an entry-level phone and you have around 2-3 gigs of RAM, it's fine. But if you can pick up the one with 4 gigs of RAM, why not? Help yourself. 4 gigs of RAM at entry level is okay. Then you see all those G36, G37, G25, the Unisoc T603, and so on and so forth. Like, these are entry-level specs. So when you are buying a phone and you are checking for this stuff and like, oh my god, this is entry level, please keep that in mind. Okay, so let's move on. Let's talk about budget. Let's see how much time we've got left. So budget phones sit just on top of the entry level. Now, budget phones offer better functionality. They are a step above, so they offer better functionality when compared to the entry level, and as a result you can usually see that they've got better SoCs. That's why you see SoCs in this level include Snapdragon 460, for example, Helio G80, G85, G88, and more recently G91, which is a rehashed G88 with 108 megapixel camera support, something like that. And then you'd see, you know, Unisoc T606, for example, T610, T612, for example. You see stuff like that. And then what else? I think that's basically mostly it. So these are the SoCs you'd find in the budget category. Budget SoCs can offer a lot more. They can offer you the full, unlike entry-level phones. I think I forgot to state that entry-level phones can only offer you 32-bit basic Android. Budget phones can, and they do offer you 64-bit Android. 64-bit Android, that's the full version of Android, which means you get full social media support for TikTok, for Snapchat, for Instagram, for Facebook, and all that. You know, the full versions of these apps, and then you get to play, you know, like, you know, 3D games, high definition games like PUBG, like Call of Duty, you know, like eFootball Mobile, all the bells and whistles that you enjoy, you know, with Android. But the thing is, when you are going to play games with a budget phone, you have to do this at the lowest graphical settings in order to be able to have a decent experience, right? So that's the difference between entry level and budget. So if you are buying a phone with these specs or at these levels, this is what you are going to be getting. So make sure to do your research first, you know, to see that, oh god, what am I trying to get? I've already said it before on this channel that if you are looking to do anything decent with your phone, it doesn't matter if you are a gamer, it doesn't matter if you are a content creator, blah blah blah, the budget phone should be the level. And unfortunately, at this point in time, I think budget phones now in Nigeria, I don't know about other countries, but in Nigeria you must have at the very least hold your 130k, 140k, 150k even, which is roughly around 140 something US dollars, I guess, if you want to get a decent phone. But unfortunately, inflation has chipped away at our purchasing power, just like somebody promised he would do, reduce the purchasing power of the people and slow down the economy. And we are seeing it in action. So yeah, I think I've spent a lot of time on this video, and I don't know, please feel free to hit me up in the comments and let's discuss further. I know I glossed over a lot of stuff on this video, and so if you really want to get more, please make sure to contact me. I am always in my comments. Yeah, so if this video, if it passed the message across to you and you enjoyed it, please, why not subscribe if you're not yet subscribed, and hit the notification bell, and then share this content to people who may need it, because it's small actions like this that help small channels like mine grow. I'll see you in the next one.